Hello. Director Grace, are you on?
Yes, madam, I can hear you.
Hey, hey, hey. What a blessing to host you this morning. So my name is Dorcas Magoa. I've known Director Grace for a few years now. He's one of those people who has the permission to beat me, and trust me, he beats me. So I become a child in his presence. So we honor you, we celebrate you. Thank you for making it to the call. Now, I just wanted so Director Grace is a businessman, and he introduces him in the most simplest ways, that you don't have to find the books he has read, you don't have to find what he has done. He says, I am a businessman, a father, a husband, full stop. If he has anything I've forgotten, he will add on, and I will not even go deeper into introducing him. But Director Grace, this is a cohort of ladies. Our expectation was 30 people. I don't know where the 7+ are, but this is a Tabita Leadership Program, which we run to empower women with leadership skills. And we've so far had several cohorts, which are at different levels. So we have a cohort, our first cohort graduated, finished. We have a second cohort here, a third cohort, and a cohort from IHK IMC. I know they are interested in hearing from you, from your expertise. So we have a joint session today. So each cohort, averagely, we have 15 people, 12 people, 15 people. So we expected at least 30 people to log on. Now we also have visiting people. My coaches are here from another forum, Naguja Rosemary, who you know, and Mama Helen Wataba, who is also on the call. Now, the other thing I wanted to update you on is that we have had several, some of the cohorts have gone through what we call self-leadership, building a leadership mindset, personal leadership brand, building a personal leadership brand, strategic planning and vision setting, executive communication, and influence. And then today is a day that our second cohort is supposed to be doing leading teams. And that's why you come in, because I know you're an expert at this, and we are so honored to hear from you this morning. So without much ado, kindly take us away. Ladies, join me in welcoming Director Grace Munyirwa from Vine Pharmaceuticals. Over to you, Director.
Good morning, and thank you so much, Dorcas. A good morning to all of you, and my prayer is that you have had a good night sleep and up in the morning. Forgive me for joining late. Members of my family are still asleep, so I had to see which corner to dive in without waking people up. And I believe the same is true for where you are. So you have to find a safe space where people won't, where you won't wake people up. I'm proud of the work that you have done. Dorcas has explained what you guys have done so far, and it's laudable. It's very hard to get any group of people together. It is very hard to get any group of people together to work together consistently. Starting is easy, but sustaining that organizational behavior is very difficult as the group grows, especially where people voluntarily come and they can voluntarily go. So I see that your 23 people, 22 plus me 23, that is very commendable. For me, I see it as success. Keeping together is really success. You have covered a number of topics that are very deep and very pertinent in the running of an organization. So I am going to talk about leadership, but before I do, whoever put this group together, I commend you for that. You really did a good job in putting this together. Because you saw beyond what is just, just jazzing and talking about normal things. Say, no, I can put together a group of people, and you have had different cohorts. I think I should start one for men. I should start one for men and see how far it goes. So, I want to look at women in leadership and really what happens when women become leaders, the frustrations they experience, maybe the frustrations you are already experiencing that should come to bear, and then you become aware that you're not the only one going through certain situations. Confirm that you can hear me, that I'm not talking alone.
Yes, we can,
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Look, as you insist on calling me director, just call me Grace. Just call me Grace. It will suffice. I'm okay. So, I'll call on a few names when so this is what we're going to do. It's going to be a conversation. And so I will stop somewhere and ask for your reactions. So if you are listening to me horizontally, please get up and at least be semi-vertical, a bit of you horizontal, a bit of you vertical. But if you are completely horizontal, you may doze off. You may doze off sooner than later. So,
Director, just to alert you, we have a team from Ghana, and I think it's 4 a.m. in Ghana. So over to you.
Sorry. Yeah, I see Agnes. Agnes, I must give you a thumbs up for logging in at 4:30 a.m. way from Ghana. I salute you. Okay, let's dive in. CEOs who prioritize gender diversity, even with good intentions, by establishing aspirational targets for the share of women in leadership positions, demanding a diverse pool of candidates from senior positions, and creating mentoring and training programs are often met with resistance. They and their businesses invest time and resources and goodwill in initiatives to create a more robust pipeline of upwardly mobile women, but little actually transpires. Their intentions are good to block off positions for women, and they champion certain causes and say, we will have 10 women in senior positions. We'll have 17 women. We'll have 2. We'll at least have 3. We will have a mentoring program for women. We'll have training program for women. I think in Uganda, it may be in Uganda, if I'm not mistaken, MTN has such a program. And I saw, I think even one of the insurance companies has such a program. But research has shown that actually little traction and little actually happens and transpires in those programs. The intentions are good, but the results on the ground are very thin. The problem with the leaders who champion this approach is that they don't often address the fragile process of coming to see oneself and to be seen by others as a leader. Because I can make you a leader today, but you have to be seen by those you lead and those within the organization also as a leader. Becoming a leader involves much more than being put in what leadership role, acquiring new skills, and adapting one's style to the requirements of that role. It involves a fundamental identity shift. Your identity has to completely evolve. Here, I wanted to slot in the 7 losses that people experience when they move from the transitional model. But then I'll leave it. I think on your own, look at the 7 losses people experience, or look at it this way. Change is easy, transitions are hard, are difficult. Why are transitions difficult? But let's move on. Just to recap, I've said that becoming a leader involves much more than being put in a leadership role or acquiring new skills and adapting one's style to the requirements of that role. It involves a fundamental identity shift. So, organizations inadvertently undermine this process when they advise women to proactively seek leadership roles, which is very common, without also addressing policies and practices that communicate a mismatch between how women are seen and the qualities and the experiences people tend to associate with leaders. In other words, the organization already has certain qualities and experiences and norms that are embedded in people's heads the way they perceive a leader. It is like parachuting someone from Mars to Earth today and saying, this person is now the leader today. It becomes very difficult. We unknowingly set up the women to fail. Question: are you aware of the uncommunicated practices or perceptions of what people within your organization qualify a leader to be? They may not be verbalized. They may not be in the manual. But who does the watchman, the gateman, perceive a leader to be? Who does the financial controller perceive a leader to be? If we are not aware of that, then we have already failed right from the start. A large body of research demonstrates that for women, the subtle gender bias that endures in organizations and society disrupts the learning cycle that is at the core of becoming a leader. In other words, the gender bias, as you become the leader, the gender bias alone will undo your learning cycle as you get the handles to fit your shoes into the leadership role. Whatever you do gets undone. The pipeline issues require very different solutions from those businesses currently use. Although necessary, conventional high potential mentoring and leadership education programs fall short. Again, research shows that teaching and consulting reveal that 3 additional steps businesses need to take to increase the likelihood that women will feel confident in their leadership abilities. Those should be acknowledged as such, and it will help the women become better leaders. By the way, on the call, I must salute one person. Helen Wataba used to be my teacher. This world is round. The one who taught me, now I'm teaching her. Never say never. Helen Wataba, I greet you. Yeah. Let me continue. Becoming a leader. People develop a sense of purpose and internalize a leadership identity to become leaders. It takes time. It takes time to internalize a sense of oneself as a leader. That's why we tell you, you're a leader. You say, no, I'm not. You come and talk to us. No, I can't. Because the process of internalizing that and identifying yourself as a leader is a process. A person can demonstrate leadership by taking deliberate actions, such as calling a meeting to rekindle a dormant project. Other people may support or oppose the action. They may be encouraging or discouraging further assertions. These interactions influence the person's perception of herself as a leader and convey how others judge the person's suitability for the position. Now, this person, you've made them the leader to lead a team. But instead of starting, say, from step 0, they are at step -3. The people they are supposed to lead don't even see them as leaders, don't even perceive them, let alone the person themselves do not perceive themselves as a leader. As a person's leadership capabilities grow and opportunities to demonstrate them expand, high-profile, challenging assignments and other organizational endorsements become more likely. Such affirmations, therefore, give the person the fortitude to step outside a comfort zone and experiment with strange behaviors and new leadership skills. But as you know, as you take on high-profile and challenging assignments and you get endorsed, you will likely make a mistake or a couple of mistakes. An absence of affirmation, however, diminishes self-confidence and discourages the person from seeking developmental opportunities or experimenting. So you'll find that if you're not seeking developmental opportunities because you goofed, or you don't want to experiment with something because you goofed, then the leadership biases are further compounded and it becomes a vortex you're in. Leadership identity, which begins as a tentative peripheral aspect of the self, eventually withers away, along with the opportunities to grow through new assignments and real achievements. Over time, an aspiring leader acquires a reputation as having or not having high potential. In that case, you're dealing with self-doubt and a conundrum is within you. Because like we said, you are given high profile, high challenging assignments. You took them on, but the absence of affirmation, and because you're human and goofed along the way, and coupled with the organizational biases quickly, but also coupled with a lack of a leadership identity on your part, confounds your chances of leading your team to the promised land. By working toward objectives that are consistent with their personal values and further the common good, effective leaders cultivate, therefore, a sense of purpose. This enables them to see what is beyond the current situation. You need to jump beyond the current situation and provides them with a compelling reason to act in spite of their own fears and insecurities, to keep moving forward, to keep pressing because of the personal values that they hold. I hope you know what your personal values are and you're able to push them. Because if you do not know your personal values, then you won't know how to move ahead. Because they are willing to take chances to further shared objectives, these leaders are viewed as genuine and trustworthy. They encourage commitment, bolster resolve, and assist colleagues in discovering greater meaning in their work by tying people to a more significant cause. There are women in every society that you may know that actually embody what we are talking about. That despite and in spite of the challenges, they actually thrive because they have identified the values and common good that is in there, and they choose to champion that, well knowing the gravitational pull that is around them.
Disconnect yours and put this.
This one, my baby. These chicks are for my baby. These legs are for my baby.
There is a mic that is unmuted. Dorcas, please help me mute.
She has muted. She has muted.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. For women, integrating leadership into their core identities is particularly difficult because they must establish their credibility in a deeply divided society over whether, when, and how to exercise authority. it is implied that women are not suited for leadership roles, that they are not suited for leadership roles by practices that equate leadership with traits that are more typical in men. In addition, when leadership opportunities present themselves, strong men support and sponsor other men because it's human nature to gravitate towards those who are similar to oneself.
Nikita, please mute
Despite
Rachel Wanyana. Nikita, mute Rachel Wanyana.
Okay, thank you so much. It is human nature to want to support your very own and the one who looks like you and who most likely behaves like you and who understands the way you behave. Despite a lack of discriminatory intent, subtle second generational forms of workplace gender bias can obstruct the leadership identity development of a company's entire population of women. I hope you are aware and you know what second generational gender bias is. What is it, by the way, so that I don't assume that it is there and you don't know it, or that you know it. I'm going to pick on someone to explain for me what it is. Let me choose. Vera has said already she doesn't know. Kate Namialo. Kate, woo. Okay. Lillian.
Coach, I'm also like Vera. I don't know what it is.
Okay. Many people don't know. Okay. Let me share what it is so that we all learn and get better. So I can try. Joanita, please go ahead.
Morning.
Morning.
I think it's when you find already existing biases in a place that you might not really know exist, but they are, I don't like subtle, like you feel them, but they're not directly in your face.
You're almost there. It just needs a little bit of polishing up. Okay. Is there any other hand?
Yes, Coach.
So,
yeah.
I would like to try.
Yep, I see someone has. Okay, Shakira. Is it Shakira?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think what Joanita was trying to say, like you go to a workplace and you find like already existing ideas and you come with your own new ideas, but because they're already existing ideas, no one is willing to listen to your new ideas.
I like that. Someone else had raised their hand. I did
Barbara.
Yes, I think it is the unconscious biases or gender biases that occur in a workplace. It happens without you knowing, but you find you biasing a certain category over the other. So unconsciously.
Okay, I like that. So there is, if I talk about a second generation, what does that mean? It means there is also a first generation. So the first generation bias, the first generation bias denies equality in terms of existence. So in the first place, the first generation just denies equality to access to privileges. Then the second generation bias holds the women back from reaching higher echelons of power. So you can beat the first generation and you join the organization, but you will be in sales for forever, or you'll be in finance for forever, and the upward movement is blocked. So the first generation gives you access, but the second generation denies you upward movement. Now, in some organizations, you have both the first and second. Okay, let's move ahead. There is an echo somewhere. Okay, I think it's okay now. Now, male-dominated organizations are reluctant to accept a woman in a leadership role. There is evidence in terms of data revealing the gap between male and female in terms of pay gap, positions they acquire, and the top positions they occupy. I'll confess that I had an unconscious bias. So when I started the business, we had just one shop and were working very well. And the staff, the three female I was employing, were working very well. And until one of them one day told me they were pregnant. And I didn't know what to do with the pregnancy because I had never expected people to get pregnant. But I had never worked with people who were getting pregnant. And I was thrown into a deep and I didn't know how to handle that. Now, that can be classified as an unconscious bias because you expect people to work and never get pregnant. So I must say that, yes, right now I'm in a better space and a better position. But earlier on, when we started a couple of years ago, that was yours truly. Although it is expected that organizations need to work towards gender just systems, it will take time for us to really accept and introduce the changes, the structural changes that will introduce and support the women to really thrive in what they do. Women need to recognize the subtle gender biases at workplaces, and the women should think like a leader, feel like a leader, act like a leader. Further, the women should establish, or the woman should establish her identity as a leader rather than a female leader. Once you begin identifying yourself as a female leader, then you are your own worst enemy. The woman must groom other women in the organization as future leaders to start chipping away and eliminating the gender-based leadership style, to groom them such that every time they chip away at that bias, gradually after so many years, the bias will at least have reduced or gone completely out of the organization. She also must look for feedback on her own from all quarters and in all forms. She must not take this leadership personal, this feedback, personal, and think that this feedback is being given to me as because I am a woman. Remember, I already said and alluded to the fact that you should identify yourself as a leader, not just as a female leader, and walk and act and feel, behave as a leader, not just a female leader. Finally, she needs to create a synergy by sharing energy of all the women in the organization. I think some people really do this so well that they create a buzz around and create energy around the women within the organization. The resulting underrepresentation of women in top positions reinforces entrenched beliefs, prompts and supports men's bids for leadership, and thus maintains the status quo. 3 actions that we suggest to support women's access to leadership positions, but also that will allow women grow and thrive as leaders of teams and leaders within the organization. You can be a leader and a leader of teams, actually. Number 1, educate women and men about second-generation gender bias. Sometimes the education programs that are initiated are for women, but you leave out the man, and whatever they're doing unconsciously. We need to bring the men on board. I would even add that we need to educate the men about, and women, about the first-generation gender bias and the second-generation gender biases. Some women actually have first and second generation gender bias themselves, and so block other women from even joining the organization, let alone from moving upwards. So action number 1 is educate. Educate men and women about all these biases so that we are all aware. It is Robin Sharma who said that awareness precedes choice. Number 2, let's create safe identity workspaces to support transitions to bigger roles. Transitioning to a bigger role is difficult. Any form of transition is actually a difficult one. So can we have like a holding place for people to be, and while we train them and teach them what they can expect in the next phase of their lives, even as they acclimatize themselves to their new leadership role. But around transitions, let me point out something. When you become a leader, change has happened. And change is an external event. But transition is an internal experience. That means how you respond to what has happened to you. Why I say you need to be, we need to establish a holding place is for you to align what has happened externally to what is happening internally. Okay. I've seen a question to what? Okay.
I think someone wants clarification on the first and second generation biases. Yeah.
Okay, let me clarify the first and second generation biases. The first generation gender bias is we will not recruit females. We will make sure they don't join this organization. That happens, and that is common, where they can say that in the armed forces or in the spy network, we do not recruit women. We don't want women. And that's a first generation gender bias. The second generation gender bias is once you're in, then there's no upward mobility. You have come into the army, but you cannot be a general in the army. So you cannot move upwards, northwards. You'll stay as a second lieutenant, or you'll stay as a captain, but you'll never come to even you yourself know that the best shot you can never give it is maybe become a lieutenant colonel, and that's where you stop. So access and upward mobility. I was talking about a safe holding space. Why? Because as you transition into a new leadership role, there are largely 7 losses you will have, and I'm going to enumerate them. You'll feel a loss of identity because who are you? Will you identify more as a woman, as your past, or as your present? Or a combination of all that. Number 2, you'll feel a loss of control because you won't know what is under your control and what is not under your control. Number 3, there'll be a loss of relationships because now some people may classify you as you have become a man. Now that you're the financial controller, you're a man. Loss number 4, loss of familiarity. Everything around you will be new. The things you are used to are all gone. The people you used to talk to are different. Loss number 5 is a loss of position. How do you assert yourself? What can you ask for? What are you entitled to? Loss number 6 is loss of security. Because you don't feel secure about the future. Loss number 7 is loss of purpose. Now, what should I champion? This largely is called the Bill Bridges transition model, which is a separate teaching on its own that I would encourage you to dive into. So we've talked about 3 action points. Number 1, to educate the women. Number 2, create safe identity workspaces to support the transitions to bigger roles, more like a holding space. Number 3, to anchor women's development efforts in a sense of leadership purpose, rather than in how women are perceived. So Hello, I lost you for a minute, or less than a minute.
Yes.
Yeah.
You could repeat point 3.
Yeah. So let me go back to number 1. Number 1, I said we should educate women and men about first and second generation gender biases. The mistake we make is we get a bunch of women, put them in a room, and leave the men. But let's educate both. 2, let's create safe identity workspaces where the woman can be free to ask questions, to cast her doubt, and she's handheld until she becomes strong enough to move to the position where we are moving her. Number 3, let's anchor women's development efforts in a sense of leadership purpose, rather than in how women are perceived. Let's pursue the organization's purpose with women alongside. Not that, hey, we reached the summit and we forgot. Now we need to add 2 women. No, from the word go, we have designed to move with women alongside us. These actions will give women insight first into themselves, because women as leaders need to first look at themselves and understand who they are. And they are organizations. Leadership begins with self-leadership. So in understanding, before you understand other people, seek to understand yourself first, enabling them to be more effective and to chart a course towards effective leadership. There was a question, how do we create safe workspaces? It will vary from organization to organization, but they can be given acting positions sometimes. If one person goes for maternity leave, then that person can occupy that position while another person is away for leave. Number 2, I can think of if someone has left, then we can appoint a woman to be in that position while we recruit someone else to take over that position, so that they test the position with few risks, but also we coach them and then help them definitely create, in that case, also what you're doing, you're creating a leadership bench such that they also warm up to the position when the position opens up. Let it not be a surprise that you throw them into the deep end. I think the challenge we and the mistake we make is that we suddenly throw leadership at the women when they had not imagined having an identity of leadership in them. As I sum up, I'll say this: leadership is influence, like John Maxwell says. We need to have self-leadership. We need to rise up to the occasion that we can do, and we are able to take on these leadership roles. And we need to support each other in flourishing, in starting, in flourishing, and in ending well as a leader. We need to be forgiving, that as a leader, you will make mistakes. I forget which, but there's an African proverb that says that only when a man climbs a tree is when we will see the holes in his underwear. So inevitably, when you become a leader, all the holes in your underwear will be visible to us who are down. previously, we need to know that you had even any holes. So for us as the led, need to be forgiving of who and the mistakes you're making. But lastly, again, I'm going to quote John Maxwell and say that everything rises and falls on leadership. If we are going to change this country, if we're going to change this nation, we want to change your church or whatever organization it is, you need to step up and be a leader, because everything rises and falls on leadership. Dorcas, I toss it back to you, madam.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you, Director, for bringing the house down. I know that people have so many questions. I also had a question, but I will ask my question later. So I'm seeing Barbara saying the underlying principle for safe spaces include inclusivity, empathy, trust, confidentiality, continuous improvement, and respect for all. Someone is asking direct, I think you answered that. Yeah, people, before we ask the question, I just want us to just unmute. I know Nikita will mute all of you. So unmute and let's celebrate Director Grace Munyirwa for the awesome, enlightening presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you, Director.
So we have, okay, thank you so much, Director. Just I needed to just give you some highlights. So this cohort has people from 4 countries. We have USA, we have DRC Congo, we have DRC, we have Ghana, and we have Ugandans. So we are diverse, and what you're saying, we can relate. So for me, I don't want to repeat what you have said, but I want to say that one of the things that we've been preaching in our past sessions, for those who are in their 6th week of this conversation, is that we must be leaders. And we are talking about the fact that you don't have to be appointed to be a statistic for creating the gender equality on the leadership radar, but instead you should be appointed because you qualify, because you're the right person for the job. So for me, it's just an emphasis for us. It's just an encouragement for us that we are doing the right thing to do this program. So thank you so much, Director. We will take about 4 or 5 questions or reflections. The director will answer, and then we will release him once he has answered, and then we'll do a bit of in-house, try to connect also, because this is the first time we are coming together jointly. So let me get 4 people who have burning questions, 4, 5 people who have burning questions. And you can also post the questions in the chat section. 4 people? Anyone else? No questions? Presentation clear? Yes, Lillian, go ahead. Lillian, Lillian, I know.
Oh, yes.
Okay,
Okay.
Lillian.
Is it Lillian now you're speaking? Or?
Lillian, I know.
I know.
Yes.
Lillian, I know is here.
Yes.
I think mine is it's not a question, but you said there could be a reflection. When he talked about loss, I'm going to summarize that. A few months ago, I think a year ago, I got a position that I thought I have been waiting for this, because I had a pause in my career. So I was doing sort of a catch up. So I was working somewhere, then someone thought, oh, you're good for this position. They gave me a job somewhere. And I took on the job, only to go through everything that has been on that 7-point list, everything, until I quit. So today I am learning from Director Grace that there's a name for it. I was so happy to realize it wasn't madness or my incompetence. There's actually a period, it actually happens to people when you're given a position and aren't you prepared for it? Because I ended up quitting. I resigned in like 3 months. I said, no, I won't do this. I didn't know who I was, what I was doing, where to start, what I controlled, what I did not control. I kept thinking I'm going to fail. So I took off. Now I realize it's possibly because there was no space created for me to go through this transition, to ask the questions that I needed to ask. So I want to thank you, Director Grace, because you have spoken to me today, and next time I hold a position of leadership or I am creating one for someone else, I'll make sure that I create a safe space so that someone can transition properly into the role and they don't go through what I went through. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Lillian. I can relate, and I think that's where I shared my story at New Vision, where I actually was promoted and I resigned 2 years down the road. So director has put a name to it. I was going through that process, and I think that's why we are in the right space to make sure that when we get there, we are not overwhelmed, we are not stressed. Lillian Nabidi, over to you.
Thank you so much, Coach Dorcas. I just want to appreciate Director Grace this morning, and I was glad there is a man who knows I would say the challenges that women in leadership are going through. I really appreciate, and I'm very glad for this session that he has taken us through. He himself also acknowledged that he was like, he had women and he didn't expect them to get pregnant, but later on he learned about those things, and also pointing out the generational biases. Those are real. They are actually real and deep rooted in our societies. So for me, I think the first thing we really need to do is to begin from the family unit. We need to begin from the family unit, rooting out those biases. But you know, the world we are living in today is actually male-dominated, and the men feel that their ideas are the best. So if you are a woman in leadership and you are bringing up something, yeah, those biases are there. I'm glad he has pointed them out, and it's so good. I'm really thanking him more and more that there is a man who knows about what women are going through and the challenges and the stereotypes that are in the society. And I believe that if we have 10 Munilas there, this world will become a better place for the women and even for the men to live in. Thank you so much, Director Grace. Over to you, Dorcas.
Thank you so much, Lillian. Over to you, Kate.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. I'll also use what Coach Dorcas calls him. Thank you, Director Grace, for the insightful presentation on leadership and women. What came to me is what you said, that we should not only target the women and we leave out the men because they don't know. I am assuming they don't know. So I was so impressed when you said that you also want to have a Tabitha program, but for the men, because there it will give them some insights of how leadership should be, putting into consideration all genders, male and female. What does it look like for the men? What does it look like for the women? Which key points do you have to emphasize when you have the second generation bias of about like leadership for women? So I'm so impressed if that can be done, because I work in a male dominated environment. I work with engineers and most of them are men. So they'll look at you, they're like, for you, what do you know? You said you can't do this. Why? As in, it's always about those gender roles. They feel they're dominant. They feel they're supposed to know you. You're supposed to be down there. So some of us who come up like shrewd are the ones they'll be like, you're very difficult. This girl is very difficult. But it's usually good for them to also have an insight of what is expected in leadership for both men and women. And such programs, I think, will help them. So I think if we can have such and they target those male-dominated industries, it would be a very good one. Thank you so much, Dorcas, for extending the invitation to Director Grace. We've really, really learned a lot.
Thank you so much, Kate. Let me go to Shakira.
Mine is a question. You talked about like how to deal with second generation bias, but as like an organization or at large, what about a person, like an individual who feels like that is happening to them? How do they deal with it?
Director, do I take more questions or you want to go for that first?
Let me go for that first.
Okay.
I think that before you join the organization, ask some questions. And don't just join the organization because they have offered you a fatter salary. Ask, how do they treat women? Or at least go there and pose as a client and see the attitude, or at least have pointers. But also, I think that if you made a mistake and you're already in the relationship with the company, with the organization already, then look at other organizations. There are two things I can think about. One, seek to teach those around you that this is happening to me and happening to all of us. Let's have a conversation. Why I'm more forgiving is that many people are doing this with no consciousness. It's not that they woke up and go from home and said, today I'm going to be biased. No, this is how they have been brought up. This is how they have been groomed, and they've been cultured that way. They don't know anything better. Just like I told you, I didn't know that people got pregnant. So have a conversation, and with the leadership team, you may be shocked that they too don't know and may warm up. But also seek another organization where you'll be treated better and where you'll have some upward mobility and where your voice can be heard. I think for me, I want to emphasize the element of educating and teaching people that this is what happens, this is who we are, this is how we can work together. Let the conversation begin with one candle, soon it will light other candles, and soon we will all have many candles lit up in a way that we bring the light into the organization. Sometimes, as a man, I don't know what to do. And so I tell you, okay, can you champion it? Can you champion it and bring together all the other women together and you talk about it? Now, it may be that you need to sell the idea first to fellow women within the organization so that you have a meaningful voice and you have oneness of purpose. Then you're able to push that to management and there'll be understanding. If you have a sponsor up in the echelons of management, then they can say, look, I was once down there and I experienced that. I'm willing to champion that voice. Like I told you, the organization I'm aware of, I think, is MTN. They have a female CEO who is really championing this and saying, look, this thing, we must talk about it. And if you need help, I am here right at the top. I can talk about it and give it publicity. Then we'll be able to put a dent into it. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Barbara, over to you. So we'll take 2 more or 3 more, and then we'll be done.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you, Director Grace, for the very insightful presentation. Mine is to emphasize that as women leaders, we also have a big role to play. The suggestions that the Director Grace has provided sort of on the other side of the coin, where we are saying, let us build that environment for an enabling environment for women to lead, and then to understand the biases and whatnot. But we as individuals, as women leaders, also need to work on ourselves. You cannot, if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't trust yourself, then it becomes very difficult to impose it on the others. So my emphasis is that as we create that safe space, as we understand the biases, we create awareness, but we also have to stop being petty on ourselves. Let's get aware of ourselves, exhibit the qualities in ourselves before the others understand us. So for emphasis, let's have that microscope on ourselves so that we can also be looked at as leaders. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So for us to understand what is happening in the other countries, I'm going to call upon Aisha, Nikita, and I'm trying to get someone from Ghana, Grace,
Mame.
and Mame to share. So in that order, Aisha from DRC, share so that we know your experience from DRC, then Nikita, then Mame from Ghana, and then we'll be able to have director give us his final parting shots, and then we'll do in-house cleaning. Thank you. Over to you, Aisha.
Hello. Good morning to all.
Good morning.
So I will talk my what I'm living now at my workplace. I'm what we call chef de poste at the border between Rwanda and Congo. It's like I'm managing the border. So my position used to be a male position. So as I'm leading, or to say, yeah, as I'm leading my team, I can say that it's very hard because you have to collaborate first with other services, customs, health. And when you work with people who are not, they don't have any integrity with them or in them, and you have, they're just, how you say it in English, in French, like, they just give you an image that is not yours, if I can say that. Sorry, my English is very poor. Actually, I'm facing something very, very, it's a disagreement for me. Since I'm coming from leave, since day one, I can just see how people don't want me at that place. You have to work. You have a purpose. You have an objective. And you need to make, like we say, the production. You need to produce and to show result of your work. And I just see when director talk about losses, the 6 points of loss, I find myself in 2 points: loss of control and security. You just ask yourself, am I the right person in that place, in that position? Am I doing well? Am I doing well about leading people? Do I have the right strategy? You ask yourself many questions about what you are doing because you don't know if you're the right person. You're just confused. And that's true. Security, you just look around you, looking for someone help, but you don't have. So you need to know, you need to know yourself and to put on your personal values to work well. That's what I can share. Thank you.
I think it's my turn. Coach Dawkins. Are you there, Coach Dawkins? Can you hear me?
Yes, please, we can hear you.
Okay. Look like Coach Dawkins is frozen. Is she? Okay. Well, what I want to add is, well, first of all, I want to say thank you to the Director Grace for being here and gracing us with your presence and your wisdom in regards to such a topic. Um, from the USA side, what I actually have witnessed myself, along with other women that are in leadership, is the fact that there's not truly an identity shift. And you had mentioned early on about the fundamental identity shift. This is where we must evolve. And I myself had to actually identify who I am in leadership, because your personal brand have to align along with your professional brand. And what that does, just like Mr. Grace said, we cannot just say we're a woman leader. We are a leader. And being a leader, just step into it. So that's meaning we must evolve and we must fit into the position. And that requires it requires work. It requires time. It requires an evolving. You cannot think the same way. You cannot be the same way. You cannot do the same things that you were doing when you were just in a position that wasn't of leadership. So once you identify, like now, there's a woman running for the president of the United States. And I'm witnessing so much with that. I don't want to get too much into the politics, but what I want to discuss is the fact that her personal identity is becoming prevalent for her professional identity to be able to run a country and be able to be such a leader in a time of this, with this bias that we have. So instead of her coming in with, she's a joking person, she loves to laugh, that's not prevalent for a male president. And they're very serious. So it's the position that requires the actual seriousness. So you must evolve with it. And you the poise, you have to be extremely poised and ready for any challenge. Weaknesses, there are no more. You must do it. You must fulfill what needs to be done and not afraid to fail forward, because you just have to study. You have to make sure that you're getting the proper training and making sure that you surrounding yourself with mentors that will be able to help you to rise up to where you need to be. So I'm loving this, and I can talk forever in regards to this, but thank you so much. I have so many notes to share with the USA cohort here and along with the other cohorts. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I think I had given an opportunity to Mame from Ghana. You're going to use 1 minute because our time is past spent.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you, Director Grace, for this program. It has really been an eye-opener for me, and God bless you so much. I would say I had the opportunity to work in a different organization some years back, and the position that I was being groomed for, I was the second in line. But I didn't know I was pregnant. I took up the position, it was an acting position, went for training, and luckily for me, I was emerged the winner of the training, came back to the branch. It was a branch, and I was hoping I could get my letter before I go on maternity leave. Before I could go on maternity leave, the third in line, that was the guy after me, was given the position. And it really hurt me like hell. It scattered my entire day, and I was pregnant too. But now I know what that name is called, what I should expect and how to overcome such things when it comes my way. Thank you so much, Dr. Grace, for this program. God bless you.
Thank you so much, ladies. I don't know if anyone, Mama Helen, you talk to your students. Let me give you an opportunity to say something to your students. Then Director Grace will give us his parting shots.
Thank you so much, Dorcas, and it is a blessing to learn from your own. I'm so blessed and honored, and that is great wisdom. Director Grace, whatever you have shared is indeed true. As leaders, especially women leaders, we face that insecurity at a certain point, and sometimes we feel we lose control, but it is a blessing that you're teaching us, and it's an honor to me. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So Director Grace, over to you to give us your parting shots. And then I request the cohorts to stay on for in-house communication.
Dorcas, first of all, thank you for inviting me. I have never been in a place where I'm immersed in 30 women. I'm envied by other men. Yeah. But I have learned. I came to teach, but I've been taught. I will run a better organization. I have been given, I feel I've been given the responsibility and the awareness that there is a certain kind of low-grade underlying pain. People may smile and, you know, I was going to say palm their hair. Do people still palm their hair? I don't think so.
Rosemary can answer that.
But people can do all kinds of things, but yet there is a low-grade pain that is persistent within the organization, and you don't know how much pain you're inflicting on people. So I came to teach, but I have been taught. And now that I'm aware, I will act better. Thank you again for the questions that you've asked. Thank you for the participation. Thank you for being alive and coming to this call so that we all make each other better. But I also hear voices of commitment to teach other people and teach other women, so that together as a society, we can raise to the occasion of having a better society indeed. We deserve better than what we are having. Thank you so much, and may God bless you. Have a wonderful day, and bye-bye from me.
Thank you, Director. So just for your information, our commitment is that once everyone has gone through the 7 weeks program, we pass on the mantle to them for them to mentor other women where they are working from. And that's how we have the USA chapter, and the Congo chapter should be launching soon. Now, publicly, I would like to request for a one-on-one for Aisha with Director Grace. I can share her number and just a request, Director.
What's the request?
To have a one-on-one with Aisha from Congo.
It's okay. It's okay.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, Director. Let's unmute and say bye to Director and appreciate him for the job well done this morning.
Bye. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Director.
Thank you.
Okay.
Coach Dorcas,
Yes.
it's been an honor